Hello, and welcome to the Power of We podcast. I am your host, Neissa Brown Springman, and the founder of Ignite Your Life. Ignite is a women's holistic health, fitness, and lifestyle community. And for the past 17 years, I have had the honor, privilege, and blessing of being the recipient of the wisdom, strength, knowledge, encouragement, and inspiration that comes from being part of this incredible community. And I want you in on that. In Ignite, this is what we call the power of we. The power of we is the philosophy that Ignite is built upon, which is that two is better than one, and that God created us for community and to do life together. In this podcast, I will have conversations with a wide range of women over a wide range of topics that will provide you with wisdom, knowledge, inspiration, and encouragement. So get ready to be empowered, y'all, because here we go. This is the Power of We podcast launch. And again, I'll introduce our guest very soon. But I first want to introduce our topic. So just to give you a little insight into why I've chosen the topic that I've chosen, which is to unsummer and declutter and organize your home before you do anything, before you launch into anything into this new school year. So clearly we're easing out of the summer season. It doesn't feel like it necessarily yet, but all of our kids, if you have school age kids, they're getting back to school. We feel an energy shift, and that's an exciting thing. But always with the start of the school year, I always have thought, even before children, I've always thought that the start of the school year, like September, was like January. It was like the January for moms, because we get to focus on us and like go for it, go all in, because the children are they're in school. That being said, I feel like we get a little overzealous in these moments of back to school, because we're like, okay, finally going to focus on me. I'm going to do that dry September. I'm going to do that sugar detox. I'm going to jump into that exercise program. And we have success for about 10 days maybe, because we started too much at one time. And so as I've been thinking about how can we roll out a kind of a system for those of you who are listening, for our members, that will allow you to have sustainable holistic success, so that we can feel amazing in September, October, November, December, and then we can ease into January. But that's a far way off. All that being said, the goal is to have sustainable holistic health and to feel amazing, so we can live really great lives. And so in order to set us up for success, I've decided that I think the best and first thing we can do or should do before we dive into all those things we want to experience in the fall season is to unclutter and unsummer our homes. So real fast, personal experience, and organize our homes. Personal experience. We had a pretty low-key June. July, we were all over the place, traveling lots of places, and that was even into the first week of August. So by the time we got back into our life, the second week of August, which was the week before school was going to start, we had dirty clothes everywhere, suitcases overflowing with dirty clothes. Like the house was in total disarray. And I'm trying to wrap my brain around not just work, of course, but also kids' new schedules. Both kids are in different schools now. They have a different start time, a different release time, different activities. Like I was trying to take in all that information while my house was a wreck. And I just was like, you know what? I can't do this. I have got to get my house in order. I've got to organize. I've got to wash those clothes, fold everything, organize my bedroom, bathroom, closet, kitchen, pantry. And then I can think about all of these other things, including like, getting back into a good fitness routine. Fortunately for me, it's what I do. I teach it. So, but nonetheless, like I had to organize my home. And what I will tell you is the results have been pretty significant. I can focus now. I can think straight. I am creating without like brain strain. I haven't been late to one thing, which is incredible. My children are much less, they're not feeling stress from me. I'm cooking really great and healthy meals, so we're not eating out. I'm sleeping really well. My family is calm, things are peaceful, and I'm not yelling at the kids, and that goes a long way. And I really attribute that to I just had to get my home right. And so now I can start thinking about these next steps. So, and then just to kind of back all this up for some of you who just really love to have, scientifically proven data, the scientific proven physiological benefits of decluttering and tidying up are this: reduces stress and anxiety, which I know that any of us who have done these things feel that, so we don't even need that proven data because we are the proven data. It's calming. It reduces memory loss, which Lord knows I could use a lot of that, and reduces our feeling of overwhelm. And then in closing, and then we'll get to our guest, is I'm just not a super organized person. Like, I do piles. And what I'm realizing is that the way I've kind of been operating out of chaos has not benefited my family, doesn't benefit me in any area of my life. And so keeping my house tidy and organized is not only beneficial to me, but it's going to be very beneficial for my children and my family too. But here's what we know about, and that's just an aside, but here's what we know about what happens when our brain is on overload, which the way of the world, our brains are on overload no matter what, right? We're taking in information at a rate and a speed never that humans ever have taken in. And so to have our homes tidy and organized, that's going to help filter us. It's going to help our mindset and our brain, because what happens when when we've got disorganization and clutter around us and our brain is on overload, our body also absorbs that stress and that anxiety. So what happens is we're not sleeping well, then we make bad food choices, and therefore we aren't like taking the best care of our bodies. And then the cortisol goes up in our system. We're in a state of fight or flight. And I think all of us can probably relate to that one way or the other. And that cortisol results in weight gain, fatigue, belly fat, which then leads to heart disease, diabetes. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. And so I believe if we can kind of pause and take care of the homestead a little bit, get it organized, and maybe many of you already are like ultra organized. But for those of you who live a life like me, who aren't typically all that organized and have kind of some chaotic spaces in your home, I hope this is helpful. And I know that we all are going to gather some wisdom and some real important information just to set us off in the right direction. So after having said all of that, I'm going to introduce our guest. All right, so I want to introduce you to my friend, Amy Brady. So Amy is a professional organizer. Her business is called the Clutter Consultants. And so she is a professional declutterer and organizer. And so I just reached out to Amy and was like, can you please, give us your organizational decluttering wisdom and help us so that we can have an unbelievable, we can shoot ourselves into the fall season feeling great. So Amy, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. I have some introductory questions to ask you so you can adequately tell the listeners, our audience, who you are and all about you. So where do you live?
Live in Austin, Texas.
And just so you know, I first met Amy, really the only time I've ever been around Amy, which I feel like we're long lost friends, was she attended our retreat, our New Year retreat in San Diego 2 Januaries ago. So anyway, that's how I first got to meet Amy. And so Amy, tell us about your family.
So I have a little picture here. Oh. So I'm married to Mark and have 2 boys. Jack is a senior in high school, and Will is 8th grade in middle school, and then 2 pups, Rosie and Pippa. Oh. And Mark and I have been married it will be 26 years next month. And this picture, gosh, this was taken last Thanksgiving, and now my youngest is eye level with me and my oldest is eye level with Mark. So it's time for a new one, but
Whew. Well, I love that you have that picture available to share. Thank you. And so something that Amy and I have in common that I'll be leaning on you, Amy, for some wisdom is our sons play baseball. And so we are baseball moms, which is a whole subculture.
It is. And your experience about traveling and coming home with dirty laundry and full suitcases and all of that hit home because we were gone just about all summer between the two boys traveling all over for baseball. So that definitely resonated with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad it wasn't just me.
No.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your business. So it's called the Clutter Consultants. And so how long have you owned the Clutter Consultants and how did you arrive at this business?
Well, funny enough, my 20-year anniversary of being in business is in a few days. So it's a huge milestone right now for me and very exciting. Thank you. Thank you. And it hasn't felt like it because I truly love what I do. I adore my clients, many of whom become friends, which you could, I'm sure, relate to as well. And I got into it actually. My background is in advertising and marketing. And I worked in the corporate world for several years. And my husband and I moved to Chicago back in 2001. And I quit my corporate marketing job then, which wasn't super fulfilling. And once we got to Chicago, I just took a few months off just to reset and reevaluate what I wanted my work life to look like. Mm-hmm. And I arrived at the fact that I wanted to be an organizer. And at the time, there weren't a lot of us. You know, my dad was like, is that a real job or is that something you saw on Oprah? And I said, well, actually, I did see it on Oprah. And that's how I found out about it. Now everyone knows what an organizer is. Back then, I really had to explain what an organizer did, how he could help, and went to work for a company, one of the veterans in the industry in Chicago, and just loved it. And when we moved back to Austin with my husband's job, I knew I didn't want to do anything else, that this was it for me. And that's when I started my business.
So have you always been just a naturally tidy and organized person?
I have. And I grew up in an organized and tidy home. And I didn't realize that there was another way of living until I went to college and lived with my polar opposite. And I thought, how does she manage this? How does she get anything done? How does she, find anything or, manage her time? And so that was an eye-opener for me. Yeah. Needless to say, we did not live together the next year, but that should be question number one on the roomie list is, are you tidy or not?
Well, so I'm glad you mentioned that. And I'd certainly want to get into your tips and wisdom. But my husband is very organized and very tidy and very like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And I am the creative and opposites attract, right? So
I was just about to say that because my husband is not super organized. So he's my long-term client.
Yes. So I'm like throwing a party over here with all my stuff. And he's like, tidy this up, please. And so he recently, this past basketball season or in March, he was promoted to be the head coach of Oral Roberts University. He's been the assistant coach for the past 5 years. And one of the things he told me was, and I could have taken this really personally. I was like, no, he's totally right. He said, I really need the house. And he's never demanded anything. Like the first thing he does when he comes home is he kind of starts like straightening things up because that just makes him feel better. And it usually always offends me because I'm like, what am I not? He never says anything, but I take it personally. But when he said, and it wasn't like the whole house has to be organized. He's just, there needs to be a part where I can like put my stuff where there's not piles so that when I do need to work at the house, I'm not distracted by all of these other things. So I was like, yeah, I get that. And so knowing that was something that was going to be really important and helpful for him really motivated me even more. And then just one more little side note, our son, he's 12, stutters. And one thing we've learned about stuttering is, it really kind of amps up for him when he's feeling anxious. And you would never know on the outside that he's feeling anxious. But when he's feeling like during times of transition, this exact time that we're in, when things are changing, or he feels like there's kind of chaos, his stuttering gets more enhanced. And so what I'm noticing, because I'm more organized on the inside of our house and our life than is organized more on the outside, it puts him at ease because it stresses him out to have like me, flying in by the seat of my pants because I couldn't find X, Y, or Z because I forgot where I put it. So all that being said, it's really made a difference and an impact. And so, I'm glad we weren't roommates because we probably wouldn't have been friends now.
Maybe not.
Honestly, I wasn't that bad in college. It just somehow kind of got worse with children and moves and everything. But
Well, right,
anyway,
because
back
you're
to you.
managing a lot more, right? There's a lot
Yeah,
more to manage now.
yeah. Okay, but give us an example of what you do for your clients.
So we help our clients either virtually or hands-on in person organize their spaces, their time, and their processes so that they can spend less time looking for things or rebuying things they already have and make the best use of their time so that they can really spend time doing the things that they love.
Yeah, totally. I love that. Okay, because I know there's a whole psychology into like people and their behaviors inside their homes, right? And their relationships with their things.
Mm-hmm.
One time before we moved from our house in Austin, we were getting ready to sell it and I had to have somebody come in and help stage it, right? And I had crap everywhere because I had two little kids and there was just,
Right.
there were crap places. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry for that. Oh. I was like apologetic and embarrassed that I had like this pile of stuff over here. And she's like, you need to stop apologizing. This is what I do. Let me come in and do my job. Do you come across that a lot?
Absolutely. And one thing I ask of my clients when they're new is please don't tidy up before I arrive or we arrive, because I really want to see what you and your family's natural tendency is so that when we create new systems, we're creating something that works with those natural tendencies. So people are definitely embarrassed. But we are really non-judgmental, like your stager, and it's important for us to see the mess in order to help make it better.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Um, so, what is the most common thing that your clients tell you after you have finished the process with them?
When can you come back? No, it really is. We oftentimes will start with a client and they'll say, oh, can you come organize our pantry? And we'll do that. And then it turns into, oh my goodness, can you move in? Or when can you come back and help me organize my closet? So it really oftentimes snowballs into doing the whole house. And I also have clients, when I got into this business, I thought, okay, I'm going to teach people this process and it's going to change the way they live and I'll never see them again. And that's not the case, because part of this process is that you have to keep doing it, right? Mm-hmm. We live in America, we live in a consumer society, and we buy. Mm-hmm. And we buy and we consume and we don't naturally get rid of. Mm-hmm. And so I have clients that have been with me for 20 years now. And right. So because I'll come in and, every few years do a closet. So I would say the biggest is when can you come back? Mm-hmm. And it might be right away and it might be in a few years. So
yeah. And I can see, like, if you just organize one thing, it's like painting your living room and then you're like, oh, the whole house needs to get painted. It's
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, down to the nitty gritty. Let's get your tips and wisdom. Let's see. So the four areas that I had asked you for us to review with us was the 4 places that I feel like we spend the most of our time, most people. Our bedroom, we sleep in there, right? 7 to 9 hours, we're in there a day. Our bathrooms, where we're getting dressed. And usually our bathroom leads into our closet where we're grabbing the things that we're getting dressed with. And then our kitchens, of course, and pantry. So let's start with the bedroom.
Okay.
My personal experience after just completely just decluttering. I mean, our bedroom, I love going in. I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good. So for sure, my experience is, I'm not a bad sleeper, but for sure, I just am like, oh, this is so exciting. Go in here and snuggle up. I don't have like an overflowing suitcase that I have to watch for when I get out of bed to not trip over. Right. But it's really made an impact in the short time that I've just recently tidied up. So, what are your bedroom tidying tips?
Well, and I love that thought of that you had too, as it becomes a true place of rest.
Mm-hmm.
And when a room is a bedroom's decluttered, think about when you walk into a hotel room. And how good it feels when you walk into that hotel room and it is spare and there's no clutter.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have this. That's what I aim for in a bedroom when I'm organizing. I really like to suggest that people start with their bedside table. Just in general, if you're looking to organize your whole house, a bedside table is a really great place to start because it's a small, manageable project, and it's a space that you use every day, and it's a place where you can see immediate results from start to finish and really finish the project, and that can help you build momentum and move on. So one thing I love for bedside tables is just keeping things contained nice and tidy of things that you might use every day. So this is actually from my bedside table where I've corralled all the things instead of them being loose or in my bedside table drawer. They're easy, close at hand. I've got my bedroom readers and eyeglass cleaners and the remote. Just corral things so that it looks more purposeful and you can find things that you need when you need to. And it really keeps you then too from piling more things on, right? Because you have this space that's already taken up with the things that you truly need and love.
Well, I will tell you, I did that. We actually just have one bedside table that's on my side, and I'm kind of a chronic. I start a book, but I don't finish it. So I have about 20 books that I'm like really interested in reading. I've started I think I'll finish later, so I'll go into another book. But I have all my books like they are now organized, and I have a little space where I put my glasses and my pictures on. It's a pretty big bedside table, and I got to tell you, it is like a piece of art now.
Right.
And it's the same bedside table that it was before.
That reminds me of a client who, when we went to organize her bedroom, walked in, and much like you, I mean, her bedside table was huge, and she had way more than 20 books, stacks of books and magazines and things she planned to read. And I asked her, how does this make you feel when you go to bed every night? When you see this stack, how does it make you feel? And she said, like a failure. It makes me feel like a failure because I'm not getting to any of this. And it makes me think, I still have all these things to do. Yeah. And that's not a recipe for a great restful sleep. And so we limited it to one book. We moved the books elsewhere and limited to one book and a magazine. And it really changed her perspective of, how she felt when she went to bed. So it's really important to declutter that reading material.
Yeah. Well, and there is so much emotional connection to our spaces and how they make us feel about ourselves.
Right.
Confidence. Wow. Is that the example you're going to tell me about?
Yes.
Yeah, that is so strong. Okay. So you recommend for a bedroom, bedside table, just a little caddy, little container. And
or tray. Right.
Okay. We're going to have a document that will be attached with this podcast of recommendations. This part, this being an example of recommendations from Amy, so that you can go and order you one, and they're cheap. So like that's the thing. Like this doesn't have to be an expensive thing. Like right, if people want to hire you and they want to go that route, great. But it's definitely an affordable task.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else about the bedroom?
My only other thing is so many people during, the pandemic working from home now have moved work into the bedroom. And I've seen that a lot. And if you can avoid it, avoid it. Yeah. Because it is hard to go to sleep when you see your work sitting there. If you're able to move it out, move it out. Not everyone is. If I have a client that's living in a studio, they can't necessarily get away from that. Yeah. So figuring out ways to have, maybe an open basket where at the end of the workday, you put everything into that open basket so that at least it's contained and organized.
And you're not looking at work.
You're not looking at it.
We always feel like we can work, but you're exactly right. We need to have these sacred spaces for what their original design was for.
Right.
Bedroom,
nailed it.
Sleep, little sanctuary.
Right.
All right. Awesome. So how about the bathroom? Well, let me just give you real fast. Obviously, one reason why it's important to have a tidy bathroom is cleanliness, right? Bathrooms where we get clean. But this is where we get ready every morning. And my most recent experience, because I've reorganized, tidied up, and let me just tell you, my organizational process was cheap. I pretty much already had everything I needed. I just threw stuff away or like gathered them and got little cheap baskets from the dollar store. Now it's a $1.25 store. But nonetheless, like it doesn't have to be Container Store, super expensive stuff at all.
Right.
And my morning process is so much better. Like I know where all my stuff is instead of like, where's my eyeliner? It's just going so much more smoothly.
Absolutely. When the thing that I talk about when organizing a bathroom is processes. So we really want to think about the process because we want to save time when we're in the bathroom. So the first thing, to your point, is to go through and declutter. And a lot of clients have a hard time knowing, when should I throw something away? Mm-hmm. Well, there's a spot on the back of your beauty products. There's a little jar and it's got a number in it. And that tells you how long from the time you open or start using a product it's good for. So what I recommend doing is just keeping a Sharpie in your bathroom. And when you open a new product, go ahead and just Sharpie on the expiration date for that product. So that when you go through and declutter later, it's really easy for you to know, oh my gosh, that's so old. I'll throw that away. Another thing to think about is think about how you use your products. So some people have a morning skincare routine and some people have an evening skincare routine. And so if you have different products that you use for those routines, I suggest separating them and organizing them by AM or PM. So here's just a little caddy with an evening routine. Full disclosure, since school started, my evening routine has been falling into bed with my full face of makeup on. So, I mean, fair enough. So, but this might not work for everyone. If you use the same products morning and night, maybe this caddy contains the products you use every day, and then you store the specialty products in another container or drawer. So just really ease of use, pull this out, pop it on the countertop, and then you can put it away. And it keeps things from accumulating on the countertop. Another thing
I never would have thought about the Sharpie.
Right?
Yeah.
Another process that you could streamline in your bathroom is medicine. So here's my full supplement and medicine container. And what I do to save time, instead of opening every one of those jars in the evening, is to use a pill container. So I have one for the evening and I have one for the morning. And what is super helpful about that is that I never run out of something, or I know when it's coming when I unload my pills for the week. And then what I do is go pop it in. So I have a to-do list that is my pharmacy list. And when I run out of something, I'll just add it to my list. And so I know when I go to the pharmacy, hey, these are the things I actually need. So it really saves me time and money, and make sure that I always have what I need right at hand.
Because what happens is you open that pill container and you're like, dang, I've got one more. And you take it and you throw the pill container away and you forget about it.
Right.
Like
right.
3 months go by and you haven't taken your vitamin D.
Right.
Or okay, so full transparency. Was something that I've just kind of organized. Just got my little $3. I got more than $1.25 basket, like $3 basket from Walmart, to put my tampons in.
Yes.
Like right by my, like, organized, instead of having the boxes out, right?
Yes.
Have that nice and organized. And anyway, it just feels so much better.
Doesn't it? I've done that with a client too. She said, I can't believe we're organizing this. And I said, you'll thank me. It's just, it is what it is. I mean,
I know Russell's very glad. He's like, thank you, Lord. Okay, anything else for the bathroom?
That's about it for the bathroom.
Love it. That's so simple and easily achievable. How about the closet? Going from the bathroom into the closet. For me, what just in my recent experience, what has so made a difference for me is, well, one, I do like pulling things out of the closet and getting rid of them, because if I haven't worn it forever, right, just putting in that good giveaway donation pile. It's always good to go through that way, but it is just like the bathroom routine. It saves so much time to have an organized closet, and you just grab what you need and get out of there.
Absolutely. One thing when decluttering a closet, and a lot of times people have a hard time letting go of clothing because, oh, I only wore that once. What a waste. And I spent money on it. It feels bad to let it go. Mm-hmm. So have in mind a donation place, or a place if you want to resell something that's easy to resell, and get it there. Have that in mind when you start, so that it makes things easier to let go of when you're in the midst of it. For example, we have in Austin, there's something called the Prom Dress Project, and we can drop off evening wear at a local dry cleaners all over town. And they have a big, basically, prom shopping party in the spring for girls who otherwise couldn't afford to buy a prom dress. And so that's one where clients have a much easier time letting go of that evening gown they wore one time and spent hundreds of dollars on, if they know that it's going to a great cause like that. So if you can find something like that in your area, or Dress for Success is another one. Think about work attire that we've spent a lot of money on and may not be wearing anymore, down to the shoes and handbags. Dress for Success is another one. So if you have something like that in mind, oftentimes it makes it easier to let go of clothing. One of my favorite closet organizing tips, I think I shared this one with you in California, is to really see what you're wearing and what you're not, because most of us don't wear a lot of things in our closet, is if you'll take your hanger, all the hangers in your closet, and if this is how we normally hang them up, turn it around backwards. So everything's hanging backwards, right? And then after you wear an item of clothing, you rehang it the normal way. And after 6 months, and definitely after a year, you'll have a really clear visual picture of what you wear and what you don't. And that's always a fun one, because people say, oh my gosh, I really wear, 20% of the clothes in my closet. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it a little bit easier again to let go of things. Yeah. The other recommendation I have with hangers is, rather than pulling an item of clothing off a hanger and leaving that empty hanger hanging there, to get some sort of a hanger holder. And these are easy from Amazon or Container Store. And go ahead and take the hanger down with the item of clothing that you're wearing and put it on a hanger holder. You will see how many feet of space you can save or create in your hanging closet by removing empty hangers. That's a fun one I do with clients the first time we do their closet, is we pull all the empty hangers off the rod, And then we measure and see how many feet of space they're going to save just by using a hanger holder. And it's feet, always.
Wow.
So that's a favorite one. Another thing you can do in your closet is look for ways to consolidate. One thing, rather than having flip-flops on a shelf, takes up a ton of space and they sort of get loose and move all around, put them in a bin, file style. Makes it really easy to flip through, and it's just a really smart use of space. I love those. This is an open bin from Container Store, really inexpensive canvas. They've had it for years. I like to use it for my caps as well, just to corral them. I have a couple of these.
So
I have a lot of caps,
question.
baseball mom caps. So
yeah, okay.
I like to use that.
Okay, real fast. So for something like that, so for me, I kind of have to see it to remember that I have it. So I like have my hats all on display. So I'm like, oh yeah. So
Perfect.
does that not limit you from like wearing that hat that you can't see what it says on?
No, because I have two of those bins and I sort of have them grouped together by, okay, these are all my high school, these are all my UT caps. These are all the Westlake High School caps, sort of together. So I know where to go and grab it. Okay. But I think, to your point, I love hanging hats and caps on the wall as well. It's a great use of vertical space that's often wasted in a closet. So look around, even above your closet door, if you have a walk-in closet. Could you put a hook up there and, put some sun hats that take up a ton of space otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to play that trick on Russell because he wears like the hanger trick because he wears like the same 3 shirts forever. Mm-hmm. And I buy him like, for Christmas, like, hey, here's some new shirts. And he just wears those same 3 blue shirts. And guaranteed we could fast forward to a year from now and those same old shirts that he has would be hanging in the opposite direction of those same 3 blue shirts.
Oh, please do it and report back. I cannot wait.
Okay, I will. All right, awesome. Moving on to the kitchen. All right, so I don't think this is going to be a shocker to anybody, but God, we spend so much time in our kitchens, especially in this open floor plan set that we all pretty much now live in, where our kitchen flows into our living room. And to have a kitchen is where we spend so much time. Like you can go to any party, right? And everybody congregates in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
Kitchens are really important space. And so there's really nothing. It's like a bedroom, walking into a bedroom that really feels like a sanctuary. Same thing with the kitchen where it's organized. There's not clutter all around. It helps you make better choices. Moving on to, it saves time. My experience, I'm not having to search for that one Tupperware container that I can't find the lid for, right? And so having that organized, but beyond that, I think it really helps us make some healthier food choices. It allows us to save money when we have an organized pantry also, because like the other day I organized my pantry. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I had those 3 containers of ketchup. I don't need to buy ketchup for a really long time because it had gotten stuck back there. And so went back to the dollar store, got a couple of $1.25 baskets. Now I have the pantry organized in categories so we can see everything. And so I'm cooking more meals. I know what we have, so I'm not going to the grocery store and buying that thing buying that I already have. It just across the board has just already made a big difference. So I can imagine that you have your clients have similar experiences as well with the kitchen.
Absolutely. And even personally, I a few years ago made a change in my pantry. I went to get a bar from the pantry. Has this ever happened to you that you go to get a bar and the box is empty and it's the hugest disappointment, right? So one thing I suggest and that I did right away is just to get an empty open bin, and go ahead and decant. Just dump the thing, whatever it is. Now, this isn't super healthy, but it is what it is. Dump the box into a bin and it really actually makes grab and go a lot easier and quicker because you can just grab it and go. You don't have to open a box. I know I've showed you a lot of acrylic. Here's another option for a great pantry bin from Amazon. And the other benefit is that you can see when you're running low on supply. And it just helps you make that grocery list so much easier.
It is so much easier. I mean, it really changes the whole psychology around food and eating behaviors and patterns. Right. I mean, and I would say for the most part, we have pretty good ones in this house. But oh, there we go. Something happened. Are you there? We all just froze.
There we go.
No, what just happened?
Yes.
Anyway,
you're frozen.
For the most part, we're pretty healthy in our house. Yeah, we have Oreos, we have chips, we have all kinds of crap in the pantry too, of course. But just what I've noticed is being more organized in the kitchen and in the pantry, it makes me not feel so stressed out when I'm preparing the meal plan not the meal plan for the week, but the grocery list. Like, what are we going to cook? I can see what we have. It's not this arduous, and I hate to use the word stress, but like all those things matter. Like, I don't enjoy cooking. It's not my love language. But I have been enjoying it more lately because I am organized, and it just is not the chaotic experience that it was before.
So. Perfect. Agree. Another, to that point, another great use of this type of bin is in the refrigerator. So, bagging, washing and bagging up grapes for my son to put in his lunch. And I put them in that bin and in the refrigerator, and it makes the times when it's time to pack lunch, or to your point, time to make dinner, so much easier. And another thing to think about right now is, so it's the fall. We're, a few months away from the holidays, and we typically cook a lot more during the holidays and bake a lot more. So one thing that you could do now is to consider decanting even your baking goods, and then you have a really clear picture of when it's time to make gingerbread man. Oh, I don't have enough brown sugar, or stock up on it now. So you do then. One question I get from clients when we decant things for baking is, well, how do you know what the expiration date is? And so I just keep a chalk marker in my kitchen and just write the best by day on the back of the container with a chalk marker, so that it's super easy to know when things have expired. And that's a great thing to do this fall, is to go look at all your baking goods. If you're a baker that bakes at Christmas time, go look at all your baking goods and see when things are expiring, and go ahead and get that set now while you have a little extra time before the holidays. And if you're looking at if you're wondering what's in my brown sugar, this is called a brown sugar bear. You can get these from Amazon, and what you do is you soak it in water for about 15 minutes, and then you stick it down in your brown sugar, and it keeps your brown sugar soft.
How did you find out?
So that's a fun.
How did you find out about that little thing? That is
another thing I like. Okay. Right, brown sugar bear. Just look it up on Amazon. And then every time you refill your brown sugar, just soak it again and stick it back in. Super easy. But it'll save you money from having to buy brown sugar so often when it gets hard.
Just because
I love to bake. I'd rather bake than cook.
But I don't have a brown sugar bear.
Another thing I like to use in the kitchen, in the pantry, or in the refrigerator is a Lazy Susan. I love a Lazy Susan for oils and vinegars and condiments, even vitamins. If you have a lot of vitamins that you keep in the kitchen, this is another good option for that. But it just really corrals those items and makes them super easy to get to. A lot of those little bottles, to your point with the ketchup, that get shoved to the back. This will prevent that. So you'll really see what you've got.
That you, because when I was looking
and have good access to it.
I'm so glad that you included that, because I always forget about the Lazy Susan, but I've got to do that for my spices, because since I'm cooking more, I'm using a lot more spices, and it is a bit of a pain because I'm like pulling the spices on the front out so I can look at the spices that are in the back instead of just having them corralled together and spinning it all around. Same thing with supplements. That is a great recommendation. Thank you.
Good. Glad you like it. Lazy Susans, they come in all shapes and sizes. So if you'd like to use one, just really measure your shelf or your cabinet and take an inventory of what you want to store on it. And that will drive sort of the size and configuration. Some of them are super large, 18 inches, and have dividers. And those are great for under a kitchen or a bathroom sink or in a deep bathroom cabinet. I like Lazy Susans in bathrooms as well. Kitchen? So that's one way to incorporate them.
Well, that was very helpful. And again, I just really appreciate your recommendations, Amy, because they are not complicated. Like, this is not a project. I mean, we can spend as much time as we want organizing our spaces and decluttering, right? But you're not recommending that we go out and buy these big things or do these grandiose tasks in order to, I mean, it's really just a matter of committing to whatever space, one space, and tackling that. And then decide on what that next space is, and just with minimal things. So thank you for keeping it so simple. Okay, so we are going to,
you got it.
So final question. What decluttering organizational advice can you give us that can be applied to any space, including our cars, our offices, our garages, our patios, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Yes.
Okay. If you can take one thing away from today, let it be this. When you go to organize a space, we don't start with a trip to Container Store or going on Amazon.com and buying supplies. That's the most fun step for most people, but that is not the first step of the organizing process. So you got to wait on that. That's the reward at the end. So first you want to declutter, get rid of things you no longer need or use or love. Then decide on the best place to store these items. And then when you know what's being kept and where it will ultimately live, you can measure and shop for supplies. So often I've gone into a client's house and I see bags from the Container Store over in the corner. It's because they started with that supply shopping and it didn't really fit what they were wanting to store or where they were wanting to store it. Before. So you can use that in any space.
We lived in Austin, and I had an organizer. This was before children come in and help the house organized, and we hardly bought anything. She's like, oh, no, we'll use that over there and that over there. And not only were things organized, but it looked like a new house because we used what we had. Like, it was just little things. And so chances are we already have everything we need for the most part. And it's amazing when we do begin to declutter what we see, we're able to see what we have. So thank you for making it so practical. Okay, before we get to your rapid fire questions, here's just the call to action.
Absolutely.
The call to action is, this next week is going into the Labor Day weekend. And really, we can declutter and organize whenever, right? But as it relates to this time that we're in right now and preparing to have a really amazing, healthy, clear-headed fall season, my recommendation is to use this weekend or this week and the long Labor Day weekend to begin to declutter and get organized. And so from my personal experience, what I had to do is I put an earbud in and I had podcasts lined up that I wanted to listen to. And I stayed entertained and focused the whole time listening to a podcast. If I sat down, I'd lose it. I get tired, or if I get, if the TV's on, I get sucked into whatever and I can't finish the project. So I didn't even allow myself to do that. I stayed on a roll and it was awesome. So I learned stuff. I listened. I was entertained. all the while getting things done around the house that I need to get done. So that's the call to action. All right. So rapid fire questions, because I know our time is coming to an end. Your favorite space to declutter and or organize, and why?
I love a clothes closet. I love a women's clothes closet because I love clothes. So I always like to see what people are wearing and what they're not and what they're letting go of. And there are often so many stories behind a clothing item
what's your favorite book
that it's fun to hear too. So my favorite book, I even pulled it down off the shelf, The Birth Order Book by Dr. Kevin Leman. This book has been around forever, and I reference it all the time, and my husband says, I've had $1 for every time you talked about that book. I love this book. It talks about our birth order, why we are the way we are. It helped me understand myself better and my husband better, helps me understand my kids. And it's not that we're set in that way, but it helps us learn, okay, what things could we change? And how can we do that with taking our birth order into consideration? So
born? Oh, you're an only. Okay. Is your husband a third,
I'm an only.
A second or third? Youngest? I knew it.
Yep.
There's something about
he's the baby. Yep. He's the baby.
That's how my husband,
right?
Only child.
Yep.
I'm the youngest.
Nailed it.
Yes. All right. Favorite quotes. Yes, it does. It totally does. There's something major to that.
See, it explains everything. Yep. Oh, Yoda, do or do not. There is no try. If we say we're going to try to do something, and just pretty much we're not committed to it. So I use this quote with my clients, use it with my kids. And it's fine if the answer is do not.
So good. You know, most recently,
but
as it relates
don't give me, I'm going to try.
This quote really resonated with me. In fact, getting this podcast out is take imperfect action. Doesn't have to be. I thought so too. It was Jenna Kutcher. She's that kind of
that's a good one.
Influencer. Anyway, I thought that was really good because I really, before I push things out, I wanted to be really great and perfect. I don't consider myself a perfectionist, but there's certain things that I get stuck on because I want to take perfect action and not imperfect action. So thank you for that Yoda quote. All right. How about your favorite concert and why?
Oh, 1992, summer of 92, before my senior year.
That's amazing.
Guns N' Roses, Metallica, in Dallas at the old Cowboys Stadium. And I grew up in Waco, so my parents let me drive to Dallas with a bunch of friends. We had one friend's van, her mom's van, and then another carload. And we went to Dallas to that concert, and we were general admission on the field in front of GNR and Metallica. And I talk about that concert all the time. It was truly one of the best days of my life. I couldn't hear for 3 days afterwards, but it was so amazing.
Oh my gosh. I forgot. I grew up around Waco. I forgot we had that in common. Yeah. I like a good Guns N' Roses, Poison, Metallica, big boy bands, or big hair rock and roll band. Okay, yes. Favorite podcast and why?
Big hair.
Ooh.
Oh, How I Built This by Guy Raz. It's just, I'm always inspired by the stories that people tell about, how they started a company, why, and the growth. I feel like, I'm middle-aged and I'm not done yet. So it still inspires me to think about, it's not over. I can still create.
You might be in the best possible creation phase right now. I mean, there's never a bad one. And I think the second we put a limitation on ourselves is when it all goes to pot. There is no limitation.
Right.
All right. I love that. Thank you for that. I'm going to listen to it. What would you tell your 21-year-old self?
Girl, you are not in control. I thought I was in control. I thought I controlled everything. And it really wasn't until, my husband and I struggled with infertility that I realized, hey, girl, you don't control anything. And I wish that in my 20s I'd let go of trying to control things so much.
So true. So true. And isn't it liberating when you realize you're not in control? Thank goodness you're not in control.
It absolutely is. And sitting here, I remind myself that all the time right now with a high school senior, and trying to, help with college essays and his narrow down your list where you're going. You know what? He's going to go to college. It's going to work out. I don't have to control every bit of it. So
that's right.
It's a good reminder, daily reminder of who's in control.
Way bigger
and it's not me.
Who's in control besides us. All right. How about, and then finally, the best wisdom
Amen.
ever received.
Amen. Well, I've received a lot of good advice over the years, and I'm going to share one that just showed up this week. I was watching an interview with Brene Brown, and she said, marriage is not 50-50. And I've always sort of known that, but I like how she took it a step further. And it was, hey, let's actually talk about that with our spouse and let them know where we are, figure out where they are, and then make a plan if we don't add up to 100. So lately I have been about a 20. I've had a shoulder injury. It's limited what I can do physically. I'm not sleeping at night, so I've been super tired. And it really just hit home. And I said to Mark the other day, I said, here's the deal.
Wow.
I'm at 20. He goes, that's okay. I got you. I'm an 80. But there are going to be times where he's not. And we really then need to sit down and figure out, okay, how are we going to move forward, knowing that we're not going to add up to 100%. How are we going to plan that out?
That is so good.
That one just
think of so many
hit home with us this week.
In my life where had I been considering that, I would not have been near as frustrated, maybe, or resentful. And you're right. It's never, it's like very rarely a 50-50.
Right.
And that's okay. Oh, that is so good.
Right.
Amy, thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you for being
part
of the Power of We team and family. And
Thanks for having me.
Your wisdom and your skill set, sharing your skill set and your unique gift of organization and decluttering, and giving us really practical and simple tools that are going to set us up into serious success for the fall and then in the holiday season when we bake with our little baking bread, our brown sugar bear. Yes. Thank you. I hope you have
a brown
great
sugar bear.
And I'll be leaning on you for some baseball mom wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Amy.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you for listening to the Power of We podcast. And if you happen to be in Austin or San Diego, we would love for you to join our fitness community. But if not, I would love for you to join me and our at-home fitness community. Most importantly, thank you for being part of the Power of We family.